your business. So I congratulate all of you, because this is exactly why. And I called him, I said it, and I thought maybe if I change company. He came from very, very humble. I want to congratulate all of you. This is exactly what our profession needs. We're actually talking about the transactions with clients, which is selling, because we're all selling. Everybody is selling. You go to see an accountant. He wants your business. He sits you down in a smart room. He gives you tea and biscuits and everything because he wants your business. It's called selling. For some reason, only in financial services are we not allowed to sell. So I congratulate all of you, because this is exactly the kind of exciting thing we This is my better side. This is exactly the kind of thing we should be talking about. So congratulations to all of you for being here. Now, I have to say that it's not easy standing up in front of an audience and speaking. I get recurring nightmares the night before, and last night I dreamt that I died. And I'd gone to heaven, and I was floating around on a cloud, and I was chained to the ugliest woman you have ever seen. And St. Peter went by, and I called him, and I said, St. Peter, how come I'm chained to this? And St. Peter said, well, you weren't very good when you were down there on earth. And just at that point, I saw Terry Blackburn. He goes floating by, and he's chained to Margot Robbie. And I said, hey, St. Peter, I get this. How come Blackburn gets Margot Robbie? And St. Peter said, well, Margot Robbie wasn't too good when she was down there. I have to tell you that this is a significant month for me, because on Tuesday it was my 80th birthday. This meeting was supposed to be held on Tuesday, and I said, not if you want me to come and speak. But it's also significant because next week will be the 57th anniversary of me making my first sale in the life insurance business. Now, you probably think, well, he must have been very clever, to have been so successful. The answer is no. I left school at 16. That's not strictly true. I was invited to leave. They said, we haven't kicked you out, but we're not taking you back. I got 10%. This always fascinates me, because I've made my fortune in a business which is totally dependent on numbers, and I got 10% in a year-end maths exam. My father got a maths tutor for me, and I said, I just can't see the sense in algebra. And he said, you can't succeed in life without algebra. It's little things like that that drive us on to achieve what we achieve, isn't it? But if anybody ever says to you, knowledge is power, read all these books, learn all this stuff, take all these knowledge is power, they're wrong. I would shoot the person who first said knowledge is power. There is no power in knowledge unless it's put to work. Knowledge put to work is what gives us power. The interesting thing is that I got a job as the junior salesman in the toy department of a department store. And I thought, this is not what I want for the rest of my life. I better go to night school and try and make up what I failed to do at school. So I did this course at night school. And one of the modules in this course was accounting, maths. And amazingly, I got 100%. What's the difference? How do I go from 10% to 100%? The difference is, one is just the knowledge and the other is knowledge at work. When it's put to work, it has a practical side to it. So was my start in the life insurance business easy? No, I started in the business just before my 23rd birthday. I said that next week will be the anniversary of my first sale in the business, but I have to tell you, 43 meetings with prospects, 43 sales appointments, sales meetings to get my first sale. In my second month, things got better. I made 6 sales. And by the 30th of the month, they had all cancelled. After 3 months, I had a closing average of 1 in 19. After 4 years, I tried to quit, but nobody would employ me. So a new life insurance company opened up in my city, and I thought maybe if I change companies, it would help me kickstart my career. So I went for an interview, and they put me through an early personality test. And I went back for the second interview, and there on the manager's desk was the test paper, and written across it, it said, "This man is not suited to a career in the sale of life insurance." 4 more years, and I managed to make it to what we call the $1 Million Roundtable. $1 Million Roundtable actually is not dissimilar to this. It's people sharing ideas. It's people uplifting and motivating each other. And I was actually at a meeting just like this, and the speaker talked about this $1 Million Roundtable. I said, "What's he talking about?" And they said, "Well, it's this club for people in the business." I said, "Well, if there's a club for people in the business, how do I join?" "You have to qualify." "Well, what do I have to do to qualify?" He told me how much, and I said, "I can't do that much." And they said, "Yes, you can. If it's this much for the year, it's only this much a month, it's this much a week, and it's only this much a day." And I learned the power of setting daily goals. So why am I here? I'm here because we all really have the same ethos. I believe, as you believe, that if we have grown because of others, we should help others grow because of us. But more important than that, why are you here? I know this is a legitimate excuse. Today is a great excuse to not be making calls. But what are you hoping for? Aren't we all looking for something? An idea, maybe just one idea, something that will help us do what we do a little more successfully. Who agrees with me? Well, let me give you the bad news. If we want our financial circumstances to change, we have to do something differently. If when we go home from this meeting, if we continue to do what we've always done, we'll continue to be what we've always been, to earn what we've always earned. If we want to write the next chapter of our lives, we better stop rereading the last one. The success of today does not depend upon what the speakers say from this stage. The success of today depends on the ideas we take home and have the courage to put into practice. So is it easy to be successful in this business? No, but it is simple. Don't confuse easy with simple. This is a hard business to succeed in, but what we need to do to succeed is very, very simple. So, where to begin? Every great accomplishment in life, whether in our profession or any other, starts with a vision. If we cannot see what we want to become, then we'll stay where we are. The artist Vincent van Gogh, he said, "First I dream my paintings, and then I paint my dreams." Do we have a vision of what we want to achieve in this profession? And if you don't, when this meeting's over, take a quiet minute. Project yourself forward 20, 30, 40 years into the future, the day you think you might want to hang up your laptop. And ask yourself this question: when that day comes and I look back on my career, what do I want to have achieved for myself, for my family, for my business? What will make me proud of my time in this business? And there's our vision. Who here has a sat-nav, a GPS in their phone or in their car? Of course we all do. What's the question the sat-nav asks. Destination. Only when we enter the destination can the machine actually plan the route. Only when we know what our destination is clearly in our minds can we start to plan the route. What do I need to do each year that will bring my dreams to reality? What do I need to do each month, each week? And yes, if we have the courage, each day. What we do each day that determines our success or failure in this business. Success is something we practice on a daily basis. Daily goals give us a sense of urgency to do now, today, what needs to be done today, to not leave it until tomorrow. It takes courage to set daily goals. If we just have a goal for the year, we only face failure once a year, don't we? If I can just remember where I put that piece of paper with my goals written on, I'll know whether I succeeded or failed this year. No, set a daily goal. We have to go home at the end of every day, face ourselves in the mirror and answer the question, did I succeed or did I fail today? It takes courage, but I will give you a guarantee. Those who have the courage to set daily goals will always be more successful than those who don't. What happened to me when I started to set daily goals? After 8 years of mediocre performance, living in a modest home with modest production and a modest motor car and modest vacations, the only change I made was to set daily goals, and my business doubled. That's all I changed. The sense of urgency it gave improved my closing average to the extent that my production doubled. You know, if anybody ever tells you that you're dreaming too big, tell them that you're there. Tell them that they are thinking too small. I had 2 brothers. I retired 21 years ago, and I said, I'll advise financial advisors. And I've never advertised, and I've never been interested in doing other than if they find out about me and want to come and see me, that's fine. And I got a phone call. Can we come and see you? Yes. 2 brothers, very modest IFAs. They said, our turnover is £200,000 a year. Our overhead takes up 50% of that. We're taking home £50,000 a year each. Can you please help us to double this? I said, why? Well, we'd like to be earning £100,000 each. I said, why aren't we thinking of £1 million? They said, we don't believe that kind of stuff. I said, okay, we'll start modestly. Last year, they sold their business for £9 million. They had £3 million a year turnover. And they said to me, Tony, 2 things we want to tell you. The first is the best business decision we ever made was to come and see you. And the second thing is to tell you we very nearly never came back. I said, why not? They said, because you started talking about $1 million and we didn't believe it. Self-belief. Okay, so now we have a vision. We need some action. Because vision without action is just daydreaming. My first day in the life insurance business, I said to my manager, what do I have to do to guarantee I succeed? He said, make 15 appointments a week. I said, what if I make 14 appointments in a week? He said, with 14 you might succeed, with 15 I'll guarantee it. I went through my first 30 years in this business before I had the courage to make less than 15 appointments a week. Now, I'm not telling you how many appointments you should make, and in today's compliance, it'd be hard to maintain and keep 15 appointments. But if you're making 5, do you realize if you move it to 6, that's a 20% increase? And in 3 months' time, you can move it to 7 because we have momentum. The momentum we have today will not allow us to double our activity, but it will allow us to add a couple each week. And then another couple each week after a few months as the momentum, the referrals start to increase. Until eventually we reach the level that we want to be at. Now, it's not for me to tell you how many appointments you should make. But here's a suggestion. Just make 1 more appointment each week. I mean, picture this if you will. 1 more appointment each week, that's 50 for the year. At least 40 of them will be kept. You'll sell 10 or 15, maybe more of them. If the average commission is only £1,000 a case, that's an extra £15,000. Picture this, folks. You go home today after this meeting, and your much beloved says, "Well, darling, did you learn anything today?" Say, darling, one of the speakers said, if I make just 1 more appointment each week, you can have an extra £15,000 to spend this year. What do you think, darling? What do you think your darling will say? I know what my darling would say. Make 2. Okay, please, keep statistics. Somebody mentioned it earlier. Record how many appointments. It's not difficult. It only takes minutes. How many appointments did we make? How many of those got kept? Because if I were your manager and you came to me and you said, "Tony, I'm losing 25% of my appointments, they're not turning into meetings," I know what advice to give you. And then how many of those appointments, those meetings, turn into sales? And what is each sale worth? Because this is all the information we need. With this information, we can now easily calculate what's a meeting worth, what's an appointment worth, whether they're kept or not, and what's a sale worth. And then all we have to do is work on increasing that yield, that turnover per sale, per meeting. But we need to know there is nothing more motivational than being able to track our own progress. I still have, from my nearly 40 years at the sales face in this business, I still have my statistics from when I started to keep them. And every year you see improvements. What I call the blowout rate, the number of appointments that don't get kept, coming down each year. The closing average going up each year. When I first qualified for the $1 Million Roundtable, it was really very simple, a daily goal. 4 appointments a day, 3 of them would be there, 1 of them would buy from me. By the time I was ready to retire, if I had 10 referrals, 9 of them would see me, 8 of them would buy from me. And watching the track of this improvement is as motivational as anything else can ever be. Now, we succeed for many reasons in this business, but we only fail to reach our goals for one: lack of discipline. The difference between where we are and where we would like to be is all in the word discipline. The most successful people in our business discipline themselves to do the things the rest of us don't like doing. Now, I'm not saying we enjoy doing those things the rest don't want to do.